My friend's girlfriend accused me of stealing him because she didn't know I was straight.
This story sounds like it's going to have a lot of twists and turns.
Oh, yeah. So, I just need to know if I did something wrong because everyone except 2 of my friends think I'm in the wrong. I, 23 female, met my 3 friends in my first year of university. Let's call them Abby, 24 female, Ben, 24 male, and Charles, 25 male. We were inseparable all 4 years, and since we graduated just over 2 years ago, we've met up once a month for dinner or some kind of activity. And by the way, this story comes from user Alternative Rush 2190 on the dustythunder subreddit. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/okstorytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Matt.
And OP says, partners have always been included if they want to. Abby was with her girlfriend for almost 3 years, but they broke up 3 months ago. And Ben's girlfriends never last longer than 2 weeks, so he doesn't bring them around. However, about 8 months ago, Charles started dating Danielle, 29 female. They met on a dating site, and initially we thought she was nice, but that she seemed a little old for our chronically immature friend. But they seemed happy, and she started joining our hangouts 5 months ago. Personally, I don't date much, so I've never brought anyone to our hangouts until Saturday night. About 4 months ago, I started seeing Jamie, 25 male. Jamie's real name is also a popular unisex name, and I decided I wanted him to meet my friends. So after our dinner in July, I texted the group chat, me, Abby, Ben, and Charles, and asked if it would be cool if my new boyfriend Jamie could join us. Everyone was excited and couldn't wait to meet him. Anyways, we went Saturday night, and Jamie and I were the last to arrive. Everyone else was just waiting in the front area of the restaurant, waiting for our table to be ready. I introduced everyone, and then Ben asked me about a hobby project I've been working on. Meanwhile, Jamie is making conversation with the others. I think everything is going great until the hostess shows up and asks if we're waiting for one more. We say no, and then she goes, "Oh, your reservation is for 6. Did someone cancel?" We looked around, and that's when we noticed Danielle was gone. Charles says she must have gone to the bathroom, but he'll wait for her and come to the table when she comes out. 10 minutes go by, and still no Charles or Danielle. Jamie and Ben are deep in conversation, so Abby and I decide to go check on Charles and Danielle. When we get out there, Charles is knocking on the bathroom door and no one is answering. Charles tells us that he called and texted Danielle and she's not answering, and he's worried something happened to her. Abby's a nurse, so she went into the bathroom while I waited with Charles. She came out and told us no one's in there. So now we're all worried. We've got a case of the disappearing girlfriend. That's not good. Charles calls Danielle again, and this time she picks up. We could tell they were having some kind of fight, so Abby and I went back to the table to tell Ben and Jamie that we should probably leave. Before they could even stand up, Charles comes to the table and told us to sit down. He said Danielle went home, and if she was going to be this way, he wasn't going to let her ruin his night. He refused to tell us why she left or what she was mad about. We have a good time, but it was still kind of awkward with Danielle not being there. After we paid the bills, Charles asked Ben for a ride home since Danielle drove him. So we went out to the parking lot, and Abby's parked the closest, so she was gone before everything got worse. This is so ominous.
Got worse? But, like, how do you have, like, a normal dinner after just that initial start? It's so weird.
I don't know. I think if it's me, I would kind of be like, maybe let's just, like, so we can still hang. Let's go somewhere else. Let's change the setting.
Right.
Because this is now kind of weird. It feels weird.
It's not dinner mood. It's more like, let's just go get a drink mood. Like, have some appetizers, sit at a bar. It's not sit down, nice restaurant dinner, chat about things. It's all right, let's talk and drink and just...
Right. Yeah, it's go to the bar and be like, let's talk about what just happened at dinner. Okay, so Abby was gone before everything got worse. I parked way out in the back next to Ben. So the 4 of us are walking all the way out when Ben said, "Isn't that Danielle's car?" And sure enough, Danielle is parked a couple of cars down from mine, and she was just sitting in the driver's seat.
What?
Okay, when she finally noticed us, she got out and slammed the door and started coming towards us, screaming at Charles. She was screaming at him about me. She called me a manipulative witch, among other things, and I didn't really know what was going on. So Jamie and I just left. Okay. Ben said he stayed for almost 45 minutes in his car waiting for Charles in case Danielle had left him there. He's also confused about what happened. So yesterday morning, Sunday morning, Abby asked me because she heard from Ben about the fight and wanted to see what I knew. She's my roommate. Obviously, the three of us were still clueless until 11 a.m. when Charles called me. I put the phone on speaker so Abby could hear, thinking it was just going to be him ranting. Only it wasn't. Charles was calling to tell me that Danielle wanted an apology from me because I didn't tell her I was straight. What does that even mean?
That was not the left turn that I was expecting this story to take.
Oh, I understand. It's because she's part of the crew. It's OP, Abby, Ben, and Charles.
Yeah.
And Danielle must have assumed that OP and maybe Abby were like together so that there was no possible way that she could be romantically interested in her boyfriend, Charles.
Oh, so now Danielle feels threatened.
Oh my. And
even though OP's bringing Jamie, who's a man, to the friend dinner.
But that's the whole thing. And she's like, how dare you have not told me and made it so viciously obvious, so clear to me. Girl, you're not entitled to that. And if the presence of a female who could possibly be interested in your boyfriend makes you this violently insecure, you are not ready for a relationship. So I guess Danielle assumed that I was attracted to the same gender like Abby because I've never brought men around before. So Abby is, but OP is not. I asked how she didn't know when I said I was inviting my boyfriend. I looked and I used boyfriend and he/him pronouns in the text chain. Charles said he just used the word partner because he tries to be inclusive. And I told him that I'm not going to apologize because he didn't make it clear Jamie's a boy when I did. That's his fault, not mine. That's when Abby and I heard Danielle start yelling in the background. Next thing we knew, she took the phone and started yelling that I was a manipulative witch who lied on purpose and that I'm trying to steal her man. She just kept yelling at me until I hung up. Then she texted the group from Charles's phone, at least it's safe to assume it was her, that Charles will no longer be associating with us because I am an evil witch. Ben had no idea what was going on and called us. The three of us decided that it was Charles's fault for not making it clear, but Jamie was a boy and that none of this is my fault. However, Ben thinks that I should apologize to Danielle for not making my spicy preferences clearer.
Why is it even Charles's fault?
How is Danielle getting away with this? Danielle, you've been dating him for 8 months. If this is how absurdly insecure you're going to be about him being best friends with a girl who likes boys, who brought her boyfriend to dinner, and you somehow think that's her trying to steal your man, you are the one who's fully in the wrong for that. What are these people on about? I'm incensed right now.
I can't make my brain understand where Danielle is coming from. And where, like, even, like, the friends are blaming Charles, because it's not on Charles to tell Danielle that OP is straight. That's
Right.
not Charles's place. That doesn't matter.
Yes, Danielle just made a straight up assumption and is now, like, viciously mad that she was wrong the whole time.
This is one of those situations where assuming makes a donkey out of you and me.
Yes, exactly. A number of other mutual friends have reached out since yesterday afternoon telling me that I need to apologize and writing nasty comments on all of my Instagram posts that include pictures of all four of us. They all refuse to listen and all say that I'm in love with Charles and that I'm a homewrecker trying to steal him. Not sure why I would do that while I'm in a relationship, but whatever. Or that I lied because I've been with Sapphic and never corrected Danielle. I did not know that she thought I was attracted to the same gender. I'm assuming that Danielle is telling everybody that I made a pass or something, but when Ben and Jamie heard that, he burst out laughing because everyone who knows me knows that Charles and Ben are more like annoying older brothers to me than anything else. Now, I don't know if Charles has a thing for me or not, but in the last 6 years I've known him, he's never made any kind of pass or romantic advance, so I doubt it. This is a throwaway account because Charles follows my main, and I want to avoid getting in a fight with him or Danielle on Reddit. So I need to know, am I the a-hole for not telling Danielle that I'm straight before now? Should I apologize for not making it clearer? And we have an update. But first, Matt, I just want to really quickly introduce myself. I'm Dakota, straight, super straight. Straight as an arrow, my guy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Matt. I'm very straight, as people know. I do have a girlfriend currently.
Great.
Still, yes.
Right. And now we've done our totally normal human introductions that everyone does in just like that.
But Dakota, you haven't told me about your cheese preference. I need to know what you think about cheese.
I will
Otherwise,
keep that
I will be
as close to the vest as possible for the rest of my life.
I am offended and I demand an apology right now.
Parmesan Reggiano.
Thank you. I agree. We're on the same page.
I'm actually kind of baffled on how I would move forward here. First, I'd be grilling my friend who's saying, anyone telling me I need to apologize for this for any other reason other than to just make peace. Because that's one thing. If you're just like, hey, this is insane, maybe just apologize so that we can all move on and get over this. Because it's so ridiculous. All right, let's get into this update. So almost everyone who originally thought I was the a-hole on Sunday and Monday seems to have changed their minds. Because there are at least 4 different stories that seem to originate from Charles and or Danielle. Story number 1. When Charles originally asked me out, I apparently flat out told him that I'm attracted to the same gender, but he needed to keep it a secret because I didn't want my closet guarding parents to find out. Apparently, my 2 university boyfriends were also beards, and that's why they didn't last long. This is false for many reasons. First off, my parents aren't closet guards. And if Charles asked me out when he said he did, and I no longer believe he did, and that's why I can't remember, thank you to the commenter who made me question if it happened, there's no way I would have trusted him enough with that information. Even now, I would have trusted Abby and Ben more. Story number 2. I've been telling Charles that if I was ever to switch teams, so to speak, he would be my first call. Apparently, this is something Charles told Danielle every time she got upset when he would say stuff like, that's not how OP would do it, or OP says this is how you should do it. Apparently, he's been making comments like this in front of other people. Story 3. Charles and I have been sleeping together the whole time, and Danielle was the other woman who had no right to be upset. Also, Charles lied to her about not having a girlfriend. I guess people thought this because, as one of my friends pointed out, every picture we're both in, he's touching me. Like he's got an arm around my waist or over my shoulder or resting his hands on my shoulders. I never noticed until it was pointed out, but now I'm definitely creeped out. And story 4, Abby and I have been sleeping together all along, and I'm the reason Abby and her ex broke up, and that I broke them up on purpose because I'm threatened by others disturbing our group dynamic. I now also understand why she thought I was using Jamie to make Charles jealous. She thought I was using him to make Charles make a move on me so I could break them up, which makes the home record comments make more sense now. But Charles knew that they broke up because Abby's ex got a job in France. Honestly, I don't know how Charles kept any of it straight. In other news, Danielle broke up with Charles, apparently. Not 100% sure, though, because Abby and Ben and I still aren't talking to Charles and probably won't ever again. I've heard that she found out it's all been lies. But by the way, I'm not lying when I say you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime and you can listen to over 71 now days worth of stories.
And you don't have to do any relationship algebra to find those out.
Not at all. You just have to type with your thumbs. Okay, so I guess they have moved forward with the assumption and I guess maybe the knowledge that Charles has been spreading lies, Charles and or Danielle, but I don't like that and or. I need way more clarity here.
I feel like Charles has not been completely forthright with Danielle, but I feel like Danielle has been spreading dirty stories after initially finding out. And then when she realized, oh, Charles has not been completely faithful to me, that's when she broke it off with him.
Yeah. Feels like once you realize, oh, okay, like this guy's actually low-key just waiting for this girl to be available or to make a move on him or to want him. But I don't know. It doesn't even necessarily feel like the case to me because he's been dating Danielle for 8 months and OP's bringing their boyfriend to dinner. I don't know. I guess it doesn't make sense that Charles was feeding Danielle with information about OP being attracted to the same gender, because then Danielle would be upset at Charles and not OP. So I still can't make heads or tails of where the lies begin and end here. Also, Danielle was apparently so worried about him cheating with me because he cheated on his ex with her, which makes sense why he's always had a new girlfriend right after the breakup. He was cheating on his ex with the next one. Apparently, he used the excuse that he was with Abby and I with his ex when he was meeting with Danielle. He started saying that to her, and when she pointed out that used to be code for being with her, he said, well, sometimes I was with them and not you, and that's what made the lie so believable. He hasn't spent any more time with us than normal, so I guess he's got a new one already. Honestly, as far as I know, a lot of my friends realize that he's creepy and manipulative and a liar. He's really exposed how much of a truly awful person he is. I still think Danielle pouring in her car and waiting for us to come out of the restaurant was a little extreme, but I think her meltdown makes more sense. Thank you everyone for making me feel better about not wanting to apologize. I truly thought that it was me that did something wrong, but I'm glad to know I didn't. And that is the end of that story.
My friend chose her boyfriend over me despite his awful behavior.
No, my friend! No!
Let's get into this. I, 23 female, went out to meet Madison, 22 female, a close friend of 6 years. She told me her boyfriend, 26 male, would join us around 3 p.m., but she hadn't mentioned it beforehand. That was fine, though, so we continued chatting until he arrived. I already knew he was a jokester, but I realized it even more as we talked. By the way, this comes from AnyTennis1549, and if you want to submit your own stories just like this, just go to the r/OKstorytime subreddit. Hi, I'm Matt.
I'm Dakota, and OP says...
Seeing that I talk a lot, he made a comment asking if I was a gypsy instead of Kurdish. At first, I didn't understand, but when I did, it upset me because it was clearly a discriminatory remark. I asked if he was being discriminatory, and he denied it. I persisted, and he denied it more, saying that his way of bullying people is a love language he uses only with close ones. I asked if he was doing with her, which he replied, I'm doing it more with her. I let it slide, saying I understood, but my feelings were hurt. As the conversation continued, he kept touching my friend's leg, which made me uncomfortable, but I didn't say anything. He also kept making jokes directed at me, which I didn't enjoy. Still, I didn't want to ruin the mood because my friend went through a tough breakup before meeting him, and now they're planning to marry. Later, we moved to a corner, and he got even worse. He was touching her even more, and while I'm usually talkative, I stayed quiet because I was already upset by the jokes. Due to my staring, I think he understood that I was uncomfortable. He said something about that I don't quite remember right now. It was probably like, maybe we shouldn't do it because your friend is staring. I said, it is okay, with a more serious tone since I was caught off guard and since he asked. I thought I would disrupt the mood if I said, yes, I'm uncomfortable.
So you're uncomfortable that they're just like physically like touching?
I think
it seems
it's
like a pretty low tolerance, not gonna lie.
Right. It depends on what their touching is like.
Yeah. Like, are they like touching or are they like touching, you know?
Yeah, like are they just like rubbing leg, holding hand, like back scritchies?
Oh
or
God,
like,
they're rubbing leg at the public establishment.
public displays of affection I cannot tolerate. Despite everything, I tried to keep the mood light, but then he made a joke about me selling water at traffic lights, calling me I can sell it, and I'm like a beaster. Of course, I got offended and asked what he meant. Even my friend asked him, what are you saying? He tried to cover it up, saying, if we gave you water, you could sell it at traffic lights and people would even give you extra money because you're so persuasive. I sarcastically replied, you could have just said salesperson instead. And I laughed it off, but I was really upset. But I thought he probably couldn't articulate his thoughts, so he called me that. What pushed me over the edge was when they started whispering to each other about going to an empty house to have spicy sleep, basically. Even though they were trying to be quiet, it was obvious what they were talking about. I was already angry, and this made it worse. I felt like I didn't belong there. Like, I understand that you two have spicy sleep drives, but they don't have to talk about it when I was there. When I asked what they were talking about, he said, nothing, which annoyed me more. I thought, well, then what's the point of me being here if they're going to talk quietly between each other?
Okay, but at the same time, brother, like, if they had told you, oh, we're talking about going to bang in an empty house, you would have been more upset.
Yeah.
So it's like, I understand. And also, the whole, like, yeah, you could totally be selling water bottles at the traffic light. It's like, hey, what do you mean by that? Yeah, you just politely go, what do you mean? Can you explain that a little bit more? Until he goes,
Yeah.
I'm trying to imply that you'd be just like
Yeah.
a street person selling water bottles because it's demeaning in the context in which I'm presenting it. You go, oh, so you're trying to belittle me. not compliment me. Okay.
I like that approach to people because it doesn't give them any wiggle room. And you're not being confrontational.
No.
You're just trying to understand what the joke is.
Yeah.
I just really want to understand what the joke was. I want to know why it was funny.
What do you mean by that?
I'm curious. I just legitimately want to know why.
I just don't understand.
Why you're equating me to selling water on the street.
Why couldn't I be selling, like, I don't know, houses? Could I be selling jet airplanes?
And why is it on the side of the street? Why can't I have a nice shop?
Yeah, why don't I have a bodega?
I got up, told my friends I was leaving since we had nothing left to talk about, hugged her, and walked out. Later, my friend texted me asking if I was angry. Oh, what would have given her that?
Yeah.
And I said, yes. When I explained, she said their conversation was not about me, and she told me I was right about the jokes, and what can she say? That her boyfriend was just being friendly with his jokes, and he made them because he saw me as a sincere person. I told her that they could have talked about whatever they wanted after I left. What I'm thinking is, am I the a-hole for taking these jokes seriously? I had problems with this during high school too. I couldn't even take it when someone would say idiot to me as a joke. So am I perhaps taking myself too seriously and creating conflict out of nothing? There is an update. 8 months later.
Oh boy. Almost
This
a full
is
baby.
Wow.
Almost full baby.
After the last event, my friend and I exchanged some messages. I told her everything I was upset about, and she mostly agreed. Then her boyfriend texted me. He apologized for everything in detail, didn't leave anything out, and explained everything clearly. I accepted his apology, and that was the end of it. After that, I honestly can't remember when my best friend and I saw each other again. She started spending every single day with her boyfriend. At first, I didn't care that much. I figured they were in the honeymoon phase. But I've never been the kind of person to ignore my friends while dating. When I was in a relationship, I made sure to keep it separate from my friendships. I would not even talk about it unless my best friend specifically asked, because she was single at the time, and hearing about relationships made her feel bad. I tried to be considerate, but in the end, I don't feel like I received the same in return.
Really quick, if we're feeling like it hurts to hear about our best friend being in a relationship now, we got to be talking. We have to be clear about these things, about when we feel certain ways, about when we think certain ways. We have to tell them, or else how would they know?
Right. Communication is a two-way street.
Yes.
You're not giving them that leeway. How are they going to know what you're upset by?
Exactly.
Once, a few months ago, I asked her to meet up. She said no and explained that all the colors in her life were disappearing when she wasn't with her boyfriend. I told her to just reach out when she felt like meeting up, and she agreed, but she never wrote to me about meeting up again. We only texted a few more times after that. One time, she randomly messaged me about a girl we know from high school. I was kind of annoyed because it was so random and felt like she only texted me to gossip. I wasn't into it, and the conversation ended quickly. At that point, I stopped texting or reaching out. There was one time I initiated a conversation about meeting up during college exams. She agreed, but I never heard anything about it afterward. To be honest, I didn't even care anymore. After the exams, her sister reached out to ask if I wanted to hang out since one of her friends from another city was visiting. I went there expecting to see my best friend too, but she wasn't there. Her sister, her cousins, and her friend were all there, but not her. I later found out that she hadn't been seeing them either. One of the cousins mentioned that things had been tense at their house because my best friend had a fight with her sister. Apparently, it was about the same issue. Her sister felt ignored. So basically, it's not just me. Everyone in her life has experienced the same thing. It's like she can't see anything outside of her boyfriend. 2 weeks ago, she messaged me again. But by that point, I hadn't reached out in a long time because I just didn't want to. I resented her. That conversation ended quickly too. Then today, I saw a TikTok she posted that said, "Some girls' best friends are their boyfriends." And honestly, that hurt. I was her best friend. We used to be so close. We talked about her wedding, how I'd be there as her witness, how her future kids would call me aunt, and how I'd bring them gifts. Now, all of that feels shallow. There was a moment I was so pissed off that I wanted to just end it all. But then I thought about my relationship with her sister and cousin. If I cut ties with her completely, my relationship with them would probably fade too. And right now, I don't want that. I'm actually closer to them. We send each other videos every day. I know this friendship will end eventually, but I don't know if I should do it now just to preserve my bond with her sister and cousin. Now, let me be honest, I didn't try to save this friendship. Having open conversations about things that made us upset about our friendship was always encouraged, but I didn't do it this time. The reason is that I didn't want to beg for her time and affection. She is already not giving me any, and I didn't want it to be forced. When she texted me like last time, I didn't return it. I was kind of done with everything. I'm still not writing, and if she decided to text me now, I would literally feel nervous and wish that she didn't write me at all. So, Reddit and OK Storytime, what do you think? Am I the a-hole? What should I do? And what would you do if you were in my shoes? There's some comments.
Okay, buddy. You kind of are. I would say you're at a coin flip right now. You're like in both lanes. You can't be in both lanes. You can't be like, well, I wish that she would actually prioritize our friendship and like reach out to me. But then also, I don't really care to ever respond to anything she says. And I don't care to maintain the friendship at this point either, because it feels like I'm begging. But the reality is like, clearly you're in college. She's got a boyfriend. And those are already two big things to manage. I think it's crazy that people like, you know, it's like the notion that like you just have one best friend. It's like you can have multiples. It's like your partner can be your best friend. You can have more than just one best friend. But, you know, clearly this is something not just OP is dealing with. Like her sister's also like, hey, where have you gone?
Yeah.
And sometimes people need to be told that like, hey, I feel like we haven't like talked at all. And then they would go, oh, I need to put more effort into this.
I think OP can like still maintain a friendship with the sister and the cousin, even if OP isn't friends with the sister.
That's a good point. I was going to say that. That
like,
is so true.
If the sister's also not talking to them, they're all in the same boat. They can be friends without her.
Your friendship with these other relatives of your ex-best friend, I guess at this point, aren't dependent entirely on y'all being friends, clearly.
All right, let's get into the comments. Comment 1. Unfortunately, your friend is on the rebound from her previous breakup and is apparently willing to put up with this low life just to satisfy her need for attention or a distraction. You are right not to lower your own standards for her or anyone else. Distance yourself from her till she dumps this loser. Harsh but fair. Comment 2. Not the a-hole. What he did from the start was make his goal to make you uncomfortable for fun. She chose real low for a rebound. She put rose-colored glasses on. Until they come off, this will be an endless circle. I agree. Unfortunately, but I disagree that this is all that we are getting from this story because that's it. There's no update. That is the
end of that story. I ditched my friend because he treated me like a maid.
The ditch is not the sitch you want to be in, friend.
Yeah. Get ditched.
Don't get ditched.
For some context, I am 25 female, dating my now fiance, 26 male. We live in an area that's really high cost of living and have two other roommates, Neil and Sunny, who are both male and also in their mid to late 20s. Not sure of their age, they were more my fiance's friends than mine to begin with. And by the way, this comes from Cinnabunbun99. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKstorytime subreddit where this story came from. So, I'm Dakota.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And OP says, for a lot of background, I have 4 cats, all my babies, and understandably my responsibility. I take on a more traditional housewife role in our relationship. He does the 9 to 5, and I work almost full time. My hours ranging from 20 to 40 hours based on if they need me, and I cook his meals and clean the house. We always try and balance our weeks. If one person is more burnt out than the other, we trade on who cleans and cooks, and so on and so forth. We stayed with Neil for a little bit in a different house before moving to the new one to see what he was about and see if we could coexist. We threw out a couch for him and let his friend Liam, in his mid-20s, male, move in too. Neil vouched for Liam and swore up and down to us that he would be able to pay rent. Liam was late twice, so reasonably when the lease was up, we didn't want him moving to the next spot. Neil understood and told us he would talk to him about being removed from the lease for the next property. My fiance and I were not there for that conversation, but Neil said he took it well. Since this isn't the main story, the TLDR is that Liam tried to blackmail us after we had all parted ways. So, bad guy, Liam. Liam, not a very cool vibe kind of guy.
Blackmail is just always so icky to me, you know? Like, you know things about somebody, like, I know you well enough that I'm going to use your own life against you.
That's what I wonder, is it's like blackmailing in what way? Like, what could this guy who was basically crashing on the couch have against you?
I know what kind of sandwich spread you like.
I know your sandwich order. In between us house hunting for a new spot from the old one, since the old one was a bit out of budget with not enough parking, I would gather lists of properties and email them to my fiance and Neil to select properties and let me know which ones I can set up for viewing. Neil told my fiance that what I was doing was too tedious and he had explained to me already what he wants and that I should just be looking for his needs too. The reason I had set up the communication this way was because me and my fiance have different needs and wants compared to him, and it's easier if he just tells me which properties fit his needs. Or if he wanted to make suggestions, I was open, but he didn't. He waited for me to send the list, pick a few he liked, and then complain to my fiance that it wasn't what he wanted without making a suggestion of other properties. This happened for at least 2 months, as we live in a densely populated area, and I started looking ahead of time. In addition to this, since I had to throw out a whole 7-seater couch, I was asking for some kind of reimbursement on my $500 couch. He offered me $50 for the section we had to throw out so his desk could fit in our space. We even paid for his movers since he had to move in with us as a show of good faith. When I started hounding him on what he owed me, he started to call me spastic and anxious behind my back to my fiance, who quickly set Neil straight and told him to stop talking poorly about me to him behind my back. Yeah, buddy, I think you need to learn this thing called a target audience. It's not going to be their fiance when you're down talking them, or at least it shouldn't. Absolutely crazy move of you.
Also, $50 on a $500 couch. What kind of reimbursement is that?
He's just like, well, I paid you 10%. That's the standard rate. He also, my fiance, informed me that this was happening, which made me wary of Neil. I told my partner to give it some time and maybe he gets better, since maybe we're all just under a lot of stress due to moving. I also tend to be very blunt, which sometimes can come off as rude, and I can see how we might all be pushing each other's buttons right now. Fast forward to the current situation. We moved to the next spot with our military friend Sonny and Neil, and things were peaceful for a bit. Sonny was projected to leave in the middle of the year, which we all discussed and said was fine, since he said he would contribute more to rent, more than half of the rent, so that we can save and be able to pay for the remaining few months when he was gone. He ended up staying past his projected leaving date, and during all this, my fiance got deployed and was not going to be home for 6 months. I was devastated. I had never been away from my partner for longer than maybe a few months prior. I became extremely depressed and developed a drinking habit, which I have since gotten over, since he's back home. I understand how I acted at that time was not the best, but I was working full-time and doing overtime at this time due to one of my coworkers leaving, and still trying to maintain composure in the work area and with friends. I didn't want them to know how deeply I was struggling. My partner was deployed during the holiday season, so as much as I could, I surrounded myself with friends. During Thanksgiving, I made a meal for my friends, and we had a great Friendsgiving and had drinks together. I cleaned up what I could that night, being wasted, and then went to bed. The next day, Neil started calling and texted me, telling me I needed to clean my mess in the kitchen. I told him to give me some time as I'm still a little hungover, but I would clean it, which I did. However, I did not like him telling me to clean it up before I was even awake to clean my mess. He had never done anything like this prior to my fiance leaving, and it felt wildly out of character. This happened again on Christmas. I told him to give me time to clean up before he starts bothering me with this, because more than likely I will clean it. Neil just didn't give me any time to clean before he started telling me to do it on his time.
What time is it, though? Like, as OP admits, they're still a little hungover after a late night partying. Like, what time is it in the day? Is it like 2 p.m. and they need to cook or do things in the kitchen and your stuff is still piled up there? How big is the mess? You said you tried to clean up what you could. What does that mean? Does it just mean you picked up like cups and stuff and there's still like plates and everything, and then pots are
I
not
have a
washed?
feeling this has to do more with your drinking habits as well. I feel like Neil probably, because, OP even said, like, this time it was bad. But,
Right.
And I got over it. But I probably wasn't acting the best. So Neil's probably seeing this drinking problem and then attributing it and then feeling like that gives him the green flag to be, like, a little more aggressive about her behavior or her character.
Which is not great.
No,
But,
not at all.
Like, I think
It's a power dynamic thing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the power dynamic, though, still, it's like, okay, there's a limit to where I think you can give OP grace, but also at some point, yo, I need the kitchen, clean up your stuff. Also, what was his demeanor in saying, hey, you need to clean it? If it's just like, hey, can you clean up your stuff? I need it. Or is it like, you need to clean this right now?
Yeah,
I don't care.
that's
'Cause if
crazy.
it's the second, screw you, Neil.
Yeah.
If it's the first, okay, they're just telling you to clean up your stuff.
Come on, Neil. What are you doing? Yeah, definitely. I wonder if Neil would be saying this if OP's partner was still here.
Probably not, because
Yeah.
OP's partner has already set him straight.
Yeah.
Like, you don't talk to my fiance like this
Yeah.
to me. So
Exactly. She's trying to power play right now. All right, let's keep going. So he would text me early morning after events when he would be drinking or eating with us as well. I started feeling weird about how he was telling me to do things like I was his partner. like he could tell me what to do just because my man wasn't around. My fiance agreed since this was never something Neil did prior. He barely spoke to me. At the same time, Neil kept swearing up and down that he would clear out items in the living room he had set up too. He never did, and I never bothered him about it because I understood we were all operating on our times because we live different lifestyles and are up or in bed at different times. So, catching up to recently, Neil and Liam started hanging out, and Neil even brought him inside the house while I was home and my fiance was deployed. I told Liam he needed to leave due to how he left the last situation, and he was not welcome inside the house while I am home. Neil later apologized, and I asked him what made him so comfortable bringing people that blackmailed us into the house. He did not have a response. I left it at that, but ended up blocking his number so that he couldn't speak to me as I was growing increasingly more uncomfortable. Since Neil was directly involved with the situation with Liam, I felt uncomfortable with someone who knew what happened and still offered to bring someone who clearly doesn't appreciate or my fiance into my house. I started stonewalling him and not giving him any more info and keeping things as minimal as possible. It eventually turned into just not talking to him at all. A couple of weeks later, Neil says he's working a deal with the landlord and that he'll be moving out, which I was fine with. I was happy even. I didn't want to be his roommate any longer. The TLDR is that the deal fell through and he could not find a new roommate in time. And now our lease is up, and my fiance and I are moving out, just us, no roommates. Sounds perfect. And by the way, something else that's perfect is the fact that you can listen to full episodes with stories like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime, and you can listen to the full archive whenever you want, as long as you have a connection to the internet.
You don't need a roommate's permission or their schedule to do so.
You do not. Congratulations! You have done exactly what I would have suggested to do, which is find a place for you and your fiance to live. Just deal with one guy, your guy, okay?
And also, like, I believe when you're in the military, if you're not staying on base, you get some money for a housing stipend. So that should help you also. So with his salary, if you're both working, you should hopefully be able to find a place that like you two can be together and you don't have to worry about like the stress of dealing with someone's other schedule or their baggage or whatever.
Yeah. I would say, we don't know the situation with Liam, but it is true if someone like straight up blackmailed you and Neil knew about it and he just was like going to bring Liam over and it's like, hey, whoa, my arch enemy, you are not welcome in my home. Get out. You're crazy. Why did you do that?
If I took a bag of lawn shrimp and just dumped them on your bed, Dakota.
We've got so many lawn shrimp, guys. So many lawn shrimp. There's actually not that many today, but they just are always here. I don't know where they come from. Anyway, lawn shrimp aside, let's finish this story. He tried to approach me to ask if we were renting or buying. I told him that doesn't matter and left the conversation at that. Neil started telling Sonny, who is close with my fiance, that I told him it doesn't effing matter, painting me as the aggressor. My fiance quickly called him out for that, to which he had no response for his wrongdoings. I recently found out he might be moving back in with his parents since Neil can't find a roommate in time. And I don't feel bad since he needed us to maintain his lifestyle, but was too comfortable with taking from us without giving in return. He never cleaned the kitchen, a shared space. I cleaned the stovetops and cleared off the counters and organized all our stuff so it could fit in the kitchen, and was in charge of cleaning the living room as well. He only cleaned the bathroom, and he only cleaned it when he was bringing girls over. And that is the end of that story.